So I do agree that we have a friendship problem in the Night Court, but I don't think that it's Elaine's problem because Elaine does have friends. Elaine has the Wraith twins, and yeah, like they don't have like as much focus, but they are still part of the Night Court, and they're some of the first characters that you meet. You meet the Wraith twins before you meet Mor and Amryn. So I'm not necessarily worried about Elaine when it comes to her friendships and like her being alone because Elaine, out of all three Archeron sisters, was always the one who was kind of framed as a little bit more of an extrovert and was able to make friends with people. So I'm sure that like especially as a human, she had a lot of friends and was able to make more. The actual friendship problem here, I have said this before, I will say it 1,000 times, is Feyre. Feyre Archeron does not have any friends. But Christine, you might be saying, Feyre does have friends. Look at all the people in the Night Court. She has two besties the way that Nesta has two besties, the way that Elaine has two besties off page. That could not be further from the truth. Mor and Amryn are not Feyre's friends first. Mor and Amryn are Rhysand's people who are hanging out with Feyre. They are kind of serving the purpose as a Feyre's girl squad, but they are not Feyre's girl squad. They will leave her for Rhysand. They are Rhysand's people. And it just makes me so sad for Feyre. Not only the fact that she does not have any friends, she doesn't have any girlfriends, but she's not really in a position where she can make more friends either because of the utter mind kibosh that Rhysand has put on her and how, like, ingratiated she is with this group. And the reason why I know that Mor and Amryn are not Feyre's friends first is because Rhysand told them to lie about her pregnancy and no one said anything about it. No one stood up for her. Amryn knew what was going on and she didn't say anything. Morgan was away, so like I don't really blame her for this, but I think that Morgan would have fallen in line as well, especially because Morgan has been on record lying a little bit, not really being a girl's girl. I was neither of them were going to tell Feyre, and that they're not her friends first. They're Rhysand's friends first. But Christine, you might be saying, Nesta didn't say anything either. We know on page that she found out about this thing with Feyre's pregnancy and she didn't say anything either. And she only said something when she was in an opportunity to hurt Feyre's feelings. Let me stop you right there. One, Nesta had absolutely no power in this situation. She was essentially being held hostage in the House of Wind because of like whatever issues she was having. She did not have any power. They literally like she left her apartment to talk to the Night Court about like the bill that she had racked up that day or whatever. And they present her the choice, go back to the House of Wind or go to the Human Lands and die. They never let her go back home. They knock down the building. They wait for her to leave the building and then they knock down the building. She had neighbors. Where did those neighbors go? So was Nesta really in the position where she could like defy the people who literally knocked down her apartment building and kept her in a building where like they kept her in the House of Wind where like she couldn't leave? No, she couldn't do any of that. As for her motivations to tell Feyre about her pregnancy when she did, I actually don't really blame her for that either because I can't imagine what it's like to be Nesta in a situation like that where you're trying to talk to like your mutual friend Amryn about the stuff in your friendship and Feyre's like inserting herself and she's acting like she like everything is perfect and she's just like what the hell, like, what the hell? So at that point, she's like, fuck Rhysand, like, fuck all of this. I actually am going to tell her. And yeah, she did it mean, but can you blame her? Really, can you blame her? I genuinely don't think that you can. I think it would be very, very difficult to be able to give Feyre that information in a way, in that moment, in a way that wasn't going to hurt her feelings. And then she's punished for it. First, she's punishing herself because she feels like, this awful person. And was that like the best, was that her best moment on page? Probably not. But it didn't warrant a hike for a week alone with the guy who wants to fuck you the most. It didn't warrant a punishment. It didn't warrant a threat upon her life. It didn't warrant any of that. Even Feyre was like, Nesta was the only one who actually told me what was going on. She's the only one I'm not mad at. And Cassian kept her out there anyway. This is Feyre's friend group. This is what they are doing to her sister, who canonically, on page, main text, needed support, but like this was not the support that she needed, like at all. And sadly, I think that there is a world where Feyre wasn't as receptive to Rhysand's advances. And if at this point she's already like ingratiated in the night court, but if she didn't want to fuck Rhysand, if she didn't like him in that way, I think there's a world where she might have been isolated in the same way, and she might have been put in a situation and like in close quarters with Rhysand, and she didn't want to fuck him. And eventually, until she was worn down by her mating bond and by the social pressure. This is honestly why it is kind of important that Elaine does get the freedom to make a choice between Azriel and Lucian, because Azriel and Lucian are both decent dudes. She will be gaining and losing something with either choice. She will only be gaining if she picks both of them, but I don't think Sarah is going to be that cool. At the end of the day, though, my point is that Elaine and Nesta first squads. Like, I feel like if you ask Nuala and Carridwen to keep a secret like that from Elaine, one, I feel like they might have already imparted the skills onto Elaine where she could find out that secret for herself. But also I feel like they would tell her. And Emery and Gwyn, if they were ever put into a position where they needed to lie about Nesta's health to Nesta's face, they would never, ever do it. Feyre, though, they've already done it. And yeah, Feyre Archeron does not have any friends. I will say that every single day until a book comes out where Feyre makes a friend who is Feyre first, which will never happen because of the power structure of the Night Court. Feyre Archeron does not have any friends.